guys, I'm Ollie Proudlock, and this is my kind of watch.
Ollie, how are you doing?
How are you, brother? Good to see you.
Good. You're probably wondering why we're sitting in a construction site today. Well, this is the up-and-coming Subdial HQ. It's still under construction, but you're going to be seeing a lot of it very soon.
You baby! It's awesome.
It's completely finished. This is how it's going to be.
I like that you've done this. The exposed brick, it's very edgy.
Yeah.
I like that you've kept the ladders here and all of that. I think it ties in well. It's a nice, against the luxury watches, the smooth finishes, the rough edges. I like it.
Now, a few weeks' time, and it'll be looking
honestly,
a proper
this space is beautiful.
place. Yeah, we're excited. Well, we all know you as a TV personality, a serial entrepreneur, and a man that enjoys his jewellery.
Absolutely.
But we're interested to know here at Subdial, what is your kind of watch?
That's a very good question. I feel like I have a very distinct taste, but I've only really been getting into watches probably in the last 10 years when I could first afford my first piece. And then since then, I've kind of gone through stages of different trends, but right now there is a specific style that I'm very much into. And I think for me, it always has to complement my jewelry.
Yeah.
But what I do now, depending on what watch I wear, that will then decide what jewelry I wear.
Well, we've bought a few other watches that we think
see.
might be to your taste, but we'd love to sort of get to know your collecting philosophy, if that's maybe not too grandiose to ask. And this is a really interesting watch.
It's
the condition is absolutely spot on, but I suppose we should say it's a 26 mil, I think.
26 mil, it's tiny.
Rolex Datejust in yellow gold, but with a riveted bracelet, which is such a cool shot.
It's so miniature.
I know.
The
taper on the bracelet.
I got this through you guys, right?
Yeah.
There's just something about the size of it. The fact it's so mini.
Yeah.
And I remember when I originally got it, I was thinking about getting it for my wife.
Yeah.
I've done that before. And you've done that one before, yeah. And then I did show it to her and she really loved it, but she actually weirdly likes things a little bit bigger. She likes watches that are chunkier. And then I put it on and I was like, wait a second.
I think at a certain size, it kind of wears like a bracelet.
It
it's
does.
Less about telling the time.
Exactly.
More about having it as a piece of jewelry.
100%. I think I have so much appreciation in the fact that it's so small and then all the little details, when it's at that sort of size. Yeah. I almost appreciate it even more.
No, I totally agree. And what I love about those dials, the sunburst dials, is when you're outside.
Yeah,
they catch the sun and it wears so much bigger in a way because it's got that vibrancy.
100%. Yeah, I love it.
We can jump in and we can talk about a few of these, but I know one that you've been looking at is this 33 millimeter Royal Oak quartz, but in yellow gold. Yeah,
you just want me. You've basically got me down here just to purchase a few
this
watches.
Is just a big sales pitch.
I know your style. This is beautiful.
There you go. Yeah.
So this is 33 mil.
33. Yeah, and what's cool about it? It's a quartz movement, but it's actually still the thinnest Royal Oak that they've ever made.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Like I love how thin that is.
Yeah.
Like modern day Royal Oaks, I don't love.
Chunky, eh?
They're a bit, look, I have very small wrists. So for me, anything too chunky just doesn't feel quite right. And for me, I like things that, a little more subtle in terms of the size. Yeah. And that's why how sleek it is, and the 33 dial is just magnificent.
What I love about a good Royal Oak, not one that's been polished to death, is you have all those different sharp facets that catch the light, that it really does cross that sort of boundary between watch and jewelry.
But look at this, right? So what I have on these two pieces is the brush metal. Yeah. So we've got the brush metal, then the polish on the it's the combination of that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't
this almost looks like a link.
It looks like it's a link,
and
it's connected. Yeah. Which is what I just love. I mean, that is beautiful.
We were comparing it to this ferrite dial Day-Date, which is a 36 millimeter. But you put those two side by side, and they're actually quite similar.
Yeah. So my first watch I ever bought was a Day-Date. It was an Oyster Quartz 36.
Yeah.
and it had a walnut dial, which for me was like, I honestly just fell in love with that watch.
They're very cool.
And do you know what I loved about it? Like, I love this, but I'm not obsessed with the smooth edges. Like, I love this, like the boxy finish, that square finish. Yeah. It's almost like when you look at like Range Rovers now, I prefer the old school, like the 90s, super boxy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar for me with watches. This is great. What is that dial?
It's called ferrite.
God, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, with Rolex, the stone dials, it really depends on the actual watch that you get. Some of them can be a really bad cut that doesn't really interest you. That one's a good one. You've got fairly even lines in the stone.
It's very cool. And what year is this?
This is a 90s watch as well, 90s. Actually.
It's all about the 90s.
I think so. It's that sort of neo-vintage era.
So cool.
Actually, so many of the watches on the table here are from that period. The 90s seemed to be that sort of experimental era.
Yeah.
And so you had Audemars Piguet, you had Chaumet, you had Patek, of course. And they would bring their best of the best out. And they were really creative with it.
People were pushing the boundaries a little bit.
Exactly that. I mean, you think about the amount of effort that goes into making a bracelet like this and this. Individually hammered links, individually assembled bracelets. I mean, obviously the gold price was a little bit less then. Yeah. And so you could go to town like they did with Piaget on the Polo and really have some, you pick that up and it's...
That's beautiful.
It's a big old chunky.
Oh.
Yeah. It's 200 grams of gold there.
I mean, it's insane. This is outrageous. And that's the other thing I love about these. I presume that's solid white gold, right?
This one here, yes.
Yeah. Like, I just love it. And the thing that blows my mind about so many of these watches, and you guys are obviously sourcing ones in amazing condition, but like, look at this. Like, this is probably from when? How old is this?
It's an 80s
80s.
watch, yeah.
But like, look at the condition.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's crazy.
And I imagine that type of person is the person that's down in Monaco or Côte d'Azur or somewhere like that, and enjoying it of an evening where the sunlight is just making that watch stand out.
Because I presume something like this back then wasn't an everyday watch. Right?
I doubt it. I mean, you'd have to be quite someone.
You'd have to be
that person.
Yeah. Just the details and everything. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, they're great. So, if you don't mind me asking, I can tell that you're gravitating towards this with the Pave dial and the sapphires. When would you wear that watch?
That's a very good question. Look, I definitely wouldn't be wearing that every day.
Yeah.
I think for me, this would be something, for a really special occasion, or, if I was going to a friend's wedding, or maybe if I was away on holiday. Yeah. But I think for me, I really see it, obviously it's a watch, but I see it as a piece of jewelry, right? Yeah. And I can, just the detail of everything and the materials that they used to use. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
It really is.
So I wouldn't wear something like this that often. Even this watch, the Rolex that I got for you guys, again, special occasion. Yeah. This is obviously a special occasion.
Obviously.
So, I had to come down and wear it. But, I think with all of these, I really like just the love and attention and detail that goes into these watches during the 80s, 90s. Like you say, this is a pivotal time.
Yeah.
I'm just so drawn to it.
Yeah.
I think more so than, I know obviously there's incredible things happening now, but I'm just so drawn to back then.
Yeah, and I think a lot of collectors are too. And I think part of that is that inflation has really hit new watch prices. Yeah. And if you were to try and buy these things new, particularly, let's look at this Patek here, which is
beautiful.
Like a disco volant on a, not an integrated bracelet, it's removable, but very hammered, hand finish watch. That would probably cost upwards of 70, 80,000 pounds from Patek right now. And yet it's a sub £10,000 watch, I believe. I'm not too sure. This is not one that we've got for sale, but it's in terms of value, it seems like a great time to be picking these things up.
I think as well, I've always been someone with style and the things that I invest in. I like something that not everyone has. So like everything I invest in, I want it to be niche. Like I want it to be really unique and something that not everyone has. And I think that's why I'm really drawn to these watches. Yeah,
they're all very low production numbers. They really are.
Out of interest for you, what's your style of, what do you tend to go towards?
I can't escape Cartier. I love Cartier.
Why do you love Cartier?
I think because they've got so many icons. Their thing is shapes. I mean, I've got a tortoise Monopolissoir on that I've cheekily put on a steel bracelet, even though it's a white gold watch. It's just a beautiful shape. It's really ergonomic, but it's got really high-end watchmaking in there. That movement was part made by a Pigeon. Mm-hmm. So there's some real watchmaking chops in there.
Cartier are having a bit of a moment at the moment.
They are, yeah.
What do you think is driving that?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. I think people like Tyler the Creator, even Kanye West, and people like that wear crashes and small, intricate, sort of interesting dress watches.
It pushes the boundary a bit. Yeah. And that's the same for us with jewellery, you know. Let's say 10 years ago, you know, I've been doing the jewellery for 14 years, but 10 years ago, there's no way you would have seen a guy wearing pearls.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Wearing a pearl necklace. We spoke about this a little bit earlier. When you're coming into a luxury market like watches or cars or whatever it might be, it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. And I think by making people feel comfortable to express themselves in any way possible and wear something that maybe 5 years ago people were like, whoa, you know what I mean? Then it makes people feel more comfortable. Yeah. And you get younger people experimenting and coming into the market. Yeah. So I can imagine for you guys, it's quite exciting.
It is. It is. And part of the excitement from my perspective is that these are such low volume watches that the art of the hunt is something that really interests me. So trying to find the perfect disco lamp from Patek, or, you know, like an unpolished Royal Oak in 33 millimeters. It's really hard to do, and when you get it, there's a massive dopamine
so true.
And then you unite it with someone that's passionate about it. Oh, it's just a great time.
It's incredible, and that's what I have at the moment. I've got such a passion for it, and in the last sort of probably 6 months, I've got really obsessed with the bamboos.
Yeah.
So again, I was going through this process of just searching, you know, and finding them. And then I even found this beautiful cobra with a falcon dial. It was so nice, the shimmer on it, which actually went into the Sotheby's auction, which was exciting as well, because obviously I've never done anything like that. But that, for me as well, is part of it. Yeah. You know, finding something, and it's the search. And then when you get it, you've got that real sense of like, wow, time has gone into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously, as someone that wears jewellery a lot, how much do you think about whether you would prefer a watch with a strap or a bracelet? I get the sense that bracelets play quite a big part of your collecting philosophy.
I think so, and I think, you know, I see my jewellery and the watch that I wear as a family. Yeah. So for me, it's got to feel like they're intertwined. Yeah. So I think that's why I do gravitate towards this sort of bracelet style. Yeah. And, you know, materials is very important for me. And I think that's why I love all these old, you know, this in solid white gold. Yeah. Whereas obviously now with stainless steel and things like that. And there's just something about the feel, the weight, the way it moves, everything like that. And it just, for me, like I say, it becomes a family of my jewelry, which is important. Because if I were to wear, let's say, a bit more of a modern style watch, a little bit chunkier, it just wouldn't tie in with my general style.
And how much does sort of construction and almost the sort of R&D that goes into these watches matter to you? I guess the craftsmanship.
Yeah, so obviously the craftsmanship, it probably comes secondhand. And like, I'm still learning very much. So you know, I could fall in love with a watch, and then you could tell me that, you know, everything that comes behind it, and then obviously everything is elevated. Yeah. But for me right now, where I'm at, it's very much about the materials, the way it looks, the way it feels. Yeah. That's what I'm really drawn to. But give me a few more years, maybe in 5, 10 years. I might be, you know, joining the Subdial team. You never know.
Of course,
and, you know, I'll just be super techy. But yeah, these smaller dials as well, like these guys, like what is this?
Well, yeah, that's I mean, again, that's a Bulgari Serpenti, which is this is another topic that we need to talk about. It's traditionally a lady's watch.
Yeah, but I would totally rock that.
Well, exactly right. I mean, so many of these, I think, were initially released as female watches, ladies' watches. But nowadays, even brands, it's taken them a long while to adjust, but brands are moving away from that ladies section, men's section, and just calling them mid-size.
For sure.
Small.
And the same thing's happening with jewellery, right? It's all genderless now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That is so cool.
It's cool, isn't it?
I love it.
The Bulgari Serpenti is an icon.
That's very cool.
And you see them, which are sort of serpents wrapping around your wrists, and they're very, very interesting.
That's the thing I love about this, right? Obviously, it's got a huge amount of weight.
Yeah.
But with this chain, obviously, I do chains like this for Serge, and the way it just feels and it just wraps around.
Yeah.
It's just like something about the feeling of that, for me anyway, just like really draws me to it.
I completely agree. It's a fascinating watch.
That is beautiful.
One of the interesting watches I wanted to talk about was this Rolex Day-Date Tridor, because that's a mixture of yellow gold and white gold.
Wow.
And rose gold. And
wow.
And I think the construction of it's a particularly difficult thing to do, and I'm sure that sort of is something that you would appreciate.
100%. I think that goes back to, I think a lot of these watches that are quite niche, especially when they're not making a huge amount of them, I think a lot more time and effort goes into those.
Yeah.
It's not like when you're manufacturing a mass amount of something,
yeah,
and you're just trying to get them out. When it's this detailed, this small, this exclusive,
yeah,
the love and care that goes into that is, and I understand that as someone from, years of making jewelry and seeing the people behind making these pieces. I mean, I have a huge appreciation for it. This is beautiful.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is solid white gold, gold and rose gold.
Yes, yeah. You can just about see the rose gold on the outside of the links. And I think the reason it's why they call it Tridor is 3 golds.
But again, that is so subtle.
So subtle, right?
I honestly, I would not have noticed that had you not told me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you just don't see many of them because it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But, when you do find that person that knows what it is, it's a lovely discussion point.
I know with jewelry now, people, and I think, as people start experimenting and feeling more comfortable, I've noticed that, and I've done this for quite a while, but people are not scared now to mix their metals.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that are buying our jewelry are wearing silver with gold, even rose gold, as opposed to, I think before, you'd be like, I either wear silver or gold.
Yeah.
Like, do you find that now in watch, looking at this piece, is there a bit more demand with mixed metal?
Yeah, I think two-tone was something that actually took a really long time to become popular. Certainly over the last 6 years, it's only really in the last year or so that two-tone is something that people would actually ask for, as opposed to going either steel or yellow gold. Mm-hmm. Certainly the days of people coming in and saying, I've got a platinum wedding ring, so I only want a white metal watch, or, yellow gold and yellow gold.
Because sometimes I guess it can be to do with skin tone, right?
Yeah.
Like I've got quite pale skin, so sometimes, when I go away and I get a little more tan, the gold actually looks better on me.
Yeah.
So again, I guess that for some people makes a decision on which metals they go
help,
to.
doesn't it?
And you've got a nice tan on you, Tim. Is this a permanent tan? Tim's going on too many holidays. Guys, seriously, what's happening here?
I'm a beekeeper and I spend a lot of time in the garden.
Okay, that's glorious. So do you tend to just go for you go silver, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of the time, but I can't escape the fact that yellow gold and interesting shapes are so hot at the moment, and I find myself talking to collectors so much about them, and some of that rubs off on me.
Of course.
My interest in little gold Cartier pieces is growing exponentially at the moment. One of the questions I really wanted to ask you is, how much does brand play a part in your collecting approach? Are there brands that you typically gravitate to?
There are brands that I gravitate to. I think when I first started collecting watches, like I said, it was about 10 years ago.
What was your first watch?
So as I said, it was a Rolex Day-Date Oyster Quartz with the walnut dial. And I think at that moment in time, I was
It's
really...
a pretty great first watch.
It was so beautiful. And I was really drawn towards Rolex. I think at the beginning, I was just starting up and I'd seen so many people that I really looked up to wearing Rolexes and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think now where I am, I still love Rolex, but where I'm at in my style, I'm really drawn to APs. Like I said, the bamboos and the cobras and stuff like that. Cartier as well. Yeah. I'm loving at the moment. Yeah. Those three are probably, I would say, I do love Patek as well, but I don't own a Patek. So yeah, those three are probably the three I sort of gravitate towards.
And would you consider going for lesser known brands?
For sure.
I mean, here we've got an Anoma. I don't know if this is a brand that you're aware of.
No. See, I don't know this brand, no.
It's a modern micro brand, but very much in the design of the taste of the Cartier Pebble and almost that sort of intricate Patek shapes that they used to come out with in the 70s and 80s.
Amazing. I think for me, you know what it is? Like, it's got to be something that I can really connect to in terms of its style, the feel. But for me, and this is with anything in style, I think, and this is what I say to people when they're thinking about how to dress or potentially how to wear jewelry, it's so personal. And I think the most important thing is feeling comfortable. Yeah. Because if you feel comfortable in what you wear, whether it's the watch, whether it's the jewelry or the clothes, that then leads to confidence. Yeah. And all these things, these watches that are so beautiful, the jewelry that you might wear, these should really like bring you confidence. And I truly believe the core of that is your comfort. Yeah. So don't, you see someone who maybe you like his style and like he's wearing a certain watch, be like, oh, I want to wear that watch. He's wearing that. You may put it on and it's not right. You don't feel comfortable, but you're wearing it because of something else or some, influence somewhere else. Yeah. The key is comfort. Yeah. And don't be afraid to experiment or wear something different. And that's something I've always stuck by. So as long as I feel comfortable and it leads to confidence, that's the key for me.
Are you fairly drawn to square or round watches, or would you consider a sort of octagonal?
I love the octagonal. I mean, this is really cool. This is a Dunhill, is it?
Yeah, it's an anniversary piece.
I mean, I love that.
Breguet hands.
That's really, really nice.
Very sort of deco design.
So I like that. The Art Deco vibe is cool. And something like this, because I don't know Dunhill watches well at all. And that's probably why I'm drawn to the watches that I buy into, because I just know a bit more about them.
Yes, exactly.
I don't, I know about Dunhill for their clothes, but not so much for their watches.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. Is this,
They're really not a watchmaker. They make watches, but they went through a phase, this is from 2000, I think, where they spent a bit more time and money on these things. They're certainly not a patch on Piaget or Audemars Piguet or Patek. But there was a window where they did some quite interesting stuff.
This is beautiful. And it's funny, if that said Cartier on there rather than Dunhill,
exactly.
People would probably be going crazy for it.
Yeah, it's very much the power of Cartier London style.
Similar style. And this is very much my style. I love this strap. Yeah. I don't usually go for leather straps, but this is really nice. Yeah. And I like that tone, it goes well with my skin tone. And with the gold, it's just like, see, that accompanies my jewelry well.
It does.
And actually, I love that.
And is it, you don't go for leather because that's something that you're not interested in, or is it the texture or the material?
I don't mind it, but I think it goes back to that conversation about, I also see a watch as a piece of jewelry, and I think it's that bracelet feel. That's what I think I'm drawn to. But, there are certain, for instance, this I love. And I think as long as it's really worn and it's the right sort of tone, I actually love that watch. How much is that?
It's £3,000. It's not very much money at all for a yellow gold manual wind.
It's really cool. I do like that a lot. I love it.
And then one other thing that I was going to cover off in terms of topics and genres. We've got this is not for sale, sadly, but it was once. This is an enamel dial Hublot. And I know a lot of people get put off by Hublot because they can be quite... in your face.
Yeah, but again, look at that. Look at the shape, the size of it.
Yeah, I know. It's 1990s. It's 36 millimeters manual wind, but with a very...
I would love them to go back to and create some of these bad boys.
You and me both.
Why wouldn't they do that?
I think it's not the commercial move, but I think increasingly it is, and it goes particularly well with your ring there.
Yeah, that is insane. So is this yours?
No, it's one of my colleagues.
Very cool. I've never seen anything like this. And on the dial there, is that frogs?
Frogs.
Yeah. See, I love this, but I would just love it in full gold.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? The rubber strap is not doing it for me. It just kind of lets the side down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate, the dial is amazing. It's very cool. Enamel, do you have a lot of watches? Is that something you tend to...
I do think that at the moment they're undervalued.
Do you think maybe that's something that might come up in the market?
I do. I really do. We're seeing Ulysse Nardin
I've
enamel
seen
dials.
a few of those. They're cool.
And they're starting to get attention now because they're at a great price point.
Yeah.
But if you were to buy a new handcraft Patek, they're hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And so I think the pre-owned prices really need to pull up.
To pull up a little bit.
I think one of the interesting themes that we've covered off today is that your appreciation for niche watches and design and jewellery, and sort of me echoing that and saying that a lot of the collectors that we're speaking to are trying to find that same niche.
Yeah.
So you're almost getting to that point where the niche becomes the trend.
I know.
And I want to know how you feel about that.
I think that's when I start losing my interest in it. That's
Find
when
a new one.
That's when I have to find the new niche.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, but it's like, but you're right. I think there is a point where suddenly that interest rises so much within them, and then it loses that unique little thing about it.
Start seeing Oliver Proudlocks walking around.
You just start seeing a few more of those bamboos running around. You're like, hold on, I didn't see any of those last month. So yeah, who knows what might be next? I have always quite liked that. You know, even before I started wearing jewelry, I've always had, my style has always been slightly different, and I've always stuck by it. Despite the fact probably when I was a young kid, people were like, yeah, dude, what are you wearing, whatever. But for me, I think whatever you wear, and you know, that's across the board, that truly has to be your personality. That's got to be your superpower, right? If everyone's got the same superpower, that's not a power anymore. Yeah, I'm just drawn towards things that are niche and something that not everyone has.
So what's the next watch for you?
What's the next move? I don't know. That's a good question. I kind of like, I mean, we touched on enamel there. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, my background is art. So I went to St. Martin's for a year, I did a foundation, and then I ended up going to Newcastle where I studied fine art for 4 years. So painting is my background. And when I moved into creating my brand, which originally was clothing, I saw the t-shirts and the clothes as my canvas and was putting my artworks onto that. So maybe that's something I love, maybe really beautiful artwork within some of these pieces, you know, bringing the two together. But I don't want to give away too much because then maybe it will, you know, who knows, it will no longer be niche.
Exactly.
No, so I don't know. But for me at the moment, I'm still loving this style of watch.
Yeah.
But let's have another conversation in 6 months and I guess we'll see.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Right, so Tim, my big question for you is which watch are you going to give me? Which one's mine?
We brought along another watch to show you, one that we thought might tickle your fancy.
Lovely Cartier pillow that you are hiding over there. And it's been winking at me this whole time. I have a feeling. Is this with the red dial?
Maybe.
It's the mixed metal, isn't it? Look at this bad boy. Look at this bad boy.
Yeah.
See, that is insane.
I love the ruby cabochon.
Oh. And that size, it's the same. Is it the same size?
Very similar, yeah.
So it's like, is it 26?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's wonderful.
That is badass.
They brought out the red dials for a 75th anniversary of the Santos, and they didn't make all that many of them.
Yeah, because I haven't seen many of them.
No.
Because what's the year on this?
That's 1990.
1990. Yeah, I mean, that's outrageous. Guys, well sourced.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's amazing. God, I love that.
So, Ollie, if you had to take, you had to take 3 of these watches away with you.
Yeah.
Where would you start? Which ones would you go for?
The Piaget here, 100%.
Yeah.
Because it's outrageous.
It is.
And just the weight, the shape, the way that the strap moves, everything about that watch I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
So that would be my number one.
That's a great start.
Then I think I'd have to go with this Royal Oak. I'm going for the gold here.
You are, aren't you?
I know, but 33 mil, it's so sleek. Again, like the way the bracelet shimmers, I love that brush finish. The way it hits the light, it's a joke.
Yeah.
So those two look pretty good right now. And then for the final,
tricky.
I think I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Go and get a little bit of white gold in there. I mean, the dial's outrageous. Again, I mean, just look at the movement on the strap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these 3 right here are the ones.
Excellent.
They're all slightly, you know, a little something about them. And as a 3, I think they look pretty sweet.
Brilliant. Great choices. Well, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I love the new place. I tell you what, Tim, I am pretty annoyed that I did not pick that in my top 3.
That's a good one.
It's beautiful. I'm putting this in and I'm taking out the AP. Yeah, baby.